1, rolling. Now.
Okay, audio rolling.
Action.
Now, I do feel emotions. I really feel emotions. I just don't always show them as much as, or even in the same way that some autistic people or non-autistic people do. I'd like you to, but also you need to understand the signs when autistic students are finding school difficult. If teachers understand how we work, it makes our lives easier, and in turn, the teachers. It's, as you might say, a no-brainer. We're all different, so why not allow us to be different? Do you know, in class there was so much I needed to remember to say and do that I always ended up overloaded at some point. Trying to learn when it wasn't making sense to me was so frustrating. You'd misunderstand what the teacher meant, or you'd take something quite literally, or you'd make a mistake, and then it was harder to ask for help and repair that situation. So if I didn't need to listen to instructions because I was overwhelmed, it was deemed disruptive behaviour, and I was blamed or even sanctioned by teachers. There was so much going on in my head that I just needed time to sort it all out. You can't do that with other people doing the same on the outside of their heads. Everything I feel is so much more intense than you might feel, I think. How we express that distress isn't always under our control. Sometimes we don't even have the energy or the bandwidth to explain why we're stressed out and upset. Might be because of a sensory overload, and we just don't have the words. So give us time to calm down and think rationally and communicate in our own way, but only when we're ready. It was best not to assume I knew the why, because sometimes I didn't. It hadn't been explained explicitly to me. I didn't always feel like I'd ask the teacher for an explanation. No, they're in charge, not me. I do think sanctions should take our autism into account, as any other disability would be taken into account.
People often talk about students having meltdowns. I have shutdowns. I stopped doing stuff, listening, learning. I just went quiet in class. But being quiet doesn't mean you're learning. I had in fact shut down. The stressed behaviour is not all about outward aggression. I needed consistency in a quiet room where I was not going to be disturbed. It's just how I coped with stress. Anything going wrong in there or different would just make my shutdown worse, you know. Quiet places or sensory rooms should be voluntary and should be a positive, protected space for students who need to use them, not a space where autistic and non-autistic students get set as a punishment. I'm glad I was able to get out of the way people who tease me by being in the calm room. Because for me, the calmer the room is, the better. Somewhere to breathe and put myself back together. Sometimes I would just need to play with something to calm me down. Being creative was such a useful outlet. I liked drawing something I found really cool, or painting, or writing a journal. Some really easy adjustments the school made. Teachers writing homework on the board at the start of the lesson, letting me out before the end of the lesson so I didn't have to contend with crowded corridors of children behaving badly. I loved early lunch. I loved the early lunch pass because I hated waiting in the line.